I'm just going to go through this whole thing as quickly as I can because I don't want to keep everybody tied up. But here we go. What do you do when you live in a world that is run by corporate greed? A world that cares nothing about the greater good of the public or the future of mankind and this earth. In a rational world, we can simply contact those in authority to bring an end to the crimes that are being committed against us. Indeed, if any common sense had been employed by the system, this would have already taken place decades ago. But alas, this is not the case. The general public is still being denied the use of this amazingly effective medication to treat their medical problems. It's not that the system doesn't know about the miraculous healing potential this plant has within it. They have been more than aware of this plant's healing abilities for a very long time. Even when they renamed the hemp plant marijuana and outlawed its medicinal use, the system was well aware that throughout history, hemp was always known to be the most medicinal plant on earth, and that its use as a medicine was legendary. The system also knew that they, or no one else, has the right to deprive the public the use of this plant, especially when it comes to healing. But this did not stop the greed and corruption of those who represented us in the past from putting their acts, laws, and statutes in place against hemp's free use. Also, the system during that era, right up to the present day, has never hesitated to openly lie about the medicinal values of the hemp plant and try to keep the truth from the public. It seems that those who are supposed to be representing us have forgotten who they are working for, and they need a little reminder.
Let him get his rap.
By simply renaming hemp marijuana and telling the public it was some form of new, dangerous, addictive, and deadly drug, they thought they could pull the wool over the public's eyes. The horrible truth is, right up to the present day, they have been getting away with it. But no more. The public is fast becoming aware of what the so-called system has been doing to them and their loved ones. All the acts, laws, and statutes ever put in place to deprive the public of the free use of this plant are based in corruption and are a total fraud. So why are we following acts and laws that in reality do not even exist? I'm all in favor of law and order, but when laws are put in place for no other reason than to enrich those in powerful positions, and all of this is done at the expense of the public's health and well-being, why are we simply going along with them, when indeed they are committing the greatest genocide in recorded history? In effect, big money bought the governments years ago and had them prohibit hemp's medicinal use to the public. They prohibited the most harmless, greatest natural healing plant on earth so they could sell us their harmful and often addictive chemicals and poison as medicine. Of course, governments also control the legal and medical systems and practically everything else. So to some degree, this explains the behavior of the legal and medical systems in regards to this issue. But it does not exonerate their behavior, especially when so many people in these professions had to know that what they were doing was against the public trust and the public's best interest. Just look at medicine. Who's getting healed these days? Doctors fill the public full of liver-toxic chemicals and poisons. They give us cancer-causing treatments such as chemo and radiation to treat cancer. Where do they get the nerve to call what they are practicing medicine? It seems that the Hippocratic oath they swear that states, "First do no harm, and I shall not administer poisons," means nothing to doctors of today. For if it did, doctors would be providing harmless natural healing substances like hemp medicines to their patients, not the dangerous, harmful trash they have been. A few years ago in North America, doctors who were doing abortions became a target of the Right to Life groups, and some doctors were even shot due to the role they were playing. I find it strange that people will take the law into their own hands over an unborn infant, yet seem to be satisfied to sit and watch a doctor poison a loved one with chemo until it kills them and do nothing. It seems that for many, the right to life only extends to those still in the womb. I do not advocate violence against the system, but if they refuse to acknowledge the truth when it is put before them, where else is there to turn? For you cannot negotiate with corruption that is this deeply ingrained. If the system is going to try to continue on with their irrational behavior, maybe it's time for us to become a little irrational and put a stop to it. Those in control presently know when the public learns the truth, it's over for them. All will be exposed, and those who are committing this travesty against mankind will have no place to hide. But still, I do not advocate violence against such people, for we, the public, must also shoulder some of the blame for what has happened in the past. For decades now, we have been letting the system tell us that black is white, yet we, the people, have never united to put a stop to it. It's easy to pass the buck and blame others for what was done wrong in the past. But the simple truth is, if we had stood together and fought for our rights and freedoms to be maintained decades ago, we would now be living in a much better world. Word about the unparalleled healing properties of the hemp plant is spreading like wildfire across the face of this planet. The lies and deceptions of the past no longer hold water and must be brushed aside in favor of what is right for the human race and other species that inhabit this earth. When enough of us stand together, the system can no longer ignore us, and we will be heard. If you know someone who is facing criminal charges related to the hemp plant, like Joe Barton, attend court hearings and support them. Surround the courthouse. Show the system your disgust for what they are doing. Cases like Joe Barton's are very disturbing, since due to the police raid, the patient Joe was successfully treating with terminal cancer died because Joe could not provide the rest of the treatment. In essence, the police raid on Joe's property killed this man. So who should be facing charges? Joe, who was healing this man out of the goodness of his heart, or the police that killed him by taking the material needed to produce his medicine? Go to your local politicians and tell them you are sickened by what they are doing. Contact your local media, such as TV news and papers, and tell them if they don't start printing the truth, in the future, they will soon regret their actions. Every second that goes by, men, women, and children are suffering and dying needlessly. Since our current system refuses to do anything to help these people, it's left to us, the public, to remedy the situation. In truth, what?
Just have to get this post on. I don't know if you remember me. Am I coming through?
Well, I'm in the middle of the speech here, brother.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We'll get him later.
In truth, the power in any country lies within the people, not the governments that have been pretending to represent them. When the people raise their voices and demand change, governments must learn to listen or they will lose control. No matter if government likes it or not, there is only one truth about the hemp plant. Throughout history, hemp has been the most beneficial plant known to man in all respects and presents absolutely no danger to the public. It has always provided us with medicine, food, fuel, fiber, textiles. The list is endless. And like my friend and mentor, Jack Harris, says, it's the only thing that can solve the problems mankind is currently facing. There is no other rational way to turn. Hemp is the only solution. Throw the laws against hemp in a trash can where they belong. Release the people like Eddie Left, which you have wrongfully imprisoned. Grow hemp everywhere. Use it for everything and in every possible way. Therein lies the salvation of the human race and this planet. Unite, march, and scream at the top of your lungs until we get this world back on the right track. It is up to us as humans to put a stop to the open genocide that has been plaguing us for decades, all in the name of profit. I have no problem with a company being profitable, but when drug companies and the like are filling their pockets at the expense of the public's health and well-being, it must come to an end. So just as in the past, it's time for the true patriots to take a stand. Recently, I heard that the Canadian government is again giving registered medicinal users a hard time. To resolve this situation, the answer is as plain as the nose on your face. If you are a licensed user in Canada, send the license back to Mr. Harper's government and tell them to shove it where the sun don't shine. The Canadian Canadian government has no right to tell you that you require a license to grow and possess this plant, and they never did. Under the Charter of Rights in Canada, you are supposed to have the right to life. Yet the corrupted Canadian government thinks they have the right to deny you the use of the most medicinal plant on earth to preserve your health and well-being. Stand up in Canada and tell Mr. Harper to stick it in his ear. As you can plainly see, the system has no intention of changing unless it is forced upon them. So I'm asking everyone out there to join with the hemp movement and myself to bring this madness to a stop. It is our solemn responsibility to the future for us to do so. For if we do not, then who will? My name is Rick Simpson, and thank you very much for listening.
Maybe you want to give him a hand.
Yay! Yay, Rick!
Let's give him a warmer hand than that.
Yay!
Yes.
That was Rick Simpson. We support Rick all the way. And if you got a chance, write some letters to the government of Canada and say, "Free Rick Simpson."
Hey, Rick?
You have to talk.
Hello, Rick.
Yeah, I can hardly hear you. Okay, you're good now. All right.
The people hear you too.
Okay.
The people got to hear you.
You were
Right
going.
there.
Can you hear me now?
But I'm going to come down.
Well, not quite as well.
Okay. I have to.
Yeah.
This is.
You got to talk in this too.
Oh, I got to talk in this too. How about now?
I can hear you just fine there.
Oh, okay. Great. This is a new position for me. Every mic is usually standing up, but I'm actually laying on the ground. But listen, you were saying the last time we spoke that you were in Egypt. You were trying to get something going over there in Egypt with the hemp plant.
Well, I was contacted by a gentleman in England, and he's trying to get something started in Egypt. I haven't heard any word back. And also, I have some people that are doing some inquiries in Cuba. So I'm not too sure what's going to happen here, but whenever I get the nod, the first country that gives me the nod, I'll be there and growing it and providing it to the people.
Yeah, I probably should have told you. That was really inspiring. And I found it inspiring because people are dying, and the cure is there, or at least a possible cure. I mean, and it's wouldn't hurt anybody to try. It's just, for me, it's eye-opening. It really is more eye-opening than it was before. Too bad you weren't out here during the lunch break because there were a lot of the workers come down. And right now, it's almost like a ghost town.
We're going to just have to keep at it, Rick. Later on, Leland Cole is going to be talking about the 5,400 cancer patients or marijuana patients in Canada, and there's a secret meeting on the 28th. So there's emergency meetings going on. So I'll get this posted so you can hear what he's going to say. We have to wrap it up.
Oh, we have to wrap it up. So maybe when would you know, Rick?
Well, I have no idea. I have to wait for these people to contact me back and find out if they got the go-ahead from the government.
All right. Well,
thank you, Rick.
Thank you. Unless you have, maybe you want to close it out. I don't want to, and if you want to say a few words, and then they're going to close it out and move on.
Well, I mean, the only thing I've got to say, I mean, this is, like I said, this is total insanity what's going on here. This is a God-given plan. Nobody has the right to tell us we can't have it. And the only reason it's been denied is not because it's harmful, it's because it's dangerous to the system. And it's time that this system changes because they're ruining this planet and they're killing not just us, but other species that inhabit this planet. So it's time for the people to take control of their own destiny again.
Thank you, Rick. This is Joe. We're going to do this again on the 30th of next month. I'm going to try to broadcast you again, okay?
Okay, brother.
Thank you very much. We love you. They're going to be here. We're going to be back on the 30th of next month. They're going to be here with Shredney and Artie and a whole lot of other bands that couldn't be here because I let them know too late. It's my fault that a lot of bands, but we still got some bands on their way. So hang out. And I want to tell you people a little something. I'm a Vietnam veteran. And when I went in the military, I took an oath to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States. I took the same oath that every judge takes that every police officer takes, that these guys in this building over here, the legislature take, only they don't honor that oath. They violate that oath. And to violate that oath in America is treason. All these people have committed treason against the American people. They're filling our prisons with nonviolent, peaceful people. And what are they filling them for? Smoking marijuana. Or getting high, whatever drug they're getting high on. It's our right. It's our body. The Constitution guarantees us the right. It's time for people to stand up, start letting the legislature know we won't put up with treason anymore. Free the people, let the ones in jail out, and stop putting them in. You took an oath to protect and defend the Constitution, not violate the people's rights. That's what our police are doing. That's what our legislature's doing. That's what our judges are doing. It's time we change it, people. Thank you.
Let me present you with the green ribbon. I'm going to try to hold the mic and pin the ribbon at the same time.
Pin the ribbon on the donkey.
Wear it proudly. Legalize. That's what we want. Yeah.
Regalize, legalize.
That's about the sexiest thing I've done in a long time. God bless all the good stuff coming your way.
Yeah, we'll be back on the 30th, so let people know.
Okay, I will. I'm going to put it on my website.
Not the 30th of this month, 30th
Joe?
of next month.
You have my number, please.
Okay, she has the number.
Okay, great.
Okay, now we
Okay, I want to announce we have our friend Posr. You people should listen to him. He has some very good information. If you're in trouble and you go into court, Posr is one of the people you want to talk to. He might help keep you out. Here's Posr.
Yes, here's Posr. Hello, everybody. How y'all doing? You know, the usual. I'm not really a cannabis expert. Like, you know, you got experts here. I mean, they could go in a court and testify. I'm just new to this. But I have to say, I've been healed.
Amen.
Yes. You heard me on the talking about cannabis is sacred. You heard that. I first learned about Joe's case, right? Facing what? 10, minimum 10, something like that? 10 years, taking a very strong stand. See, right here it says cannabis cures cancer. Now imagine that shit, because cannabis cures cancer, and people are walking by like it's just some orange lilies in the field, which have their worth as well. I just got finished asking Joe to give me some information. He told me in 1974, and we'll get to the law part and getting into jail and all like that, but I'm just spiritually converted. But in 1974, the DEA, right, Drug Enforcement Committee, or agents or agency, commissioned Virginia College, Medical College, to do a study on cannabis so that they could say that it cures cancer.
That it causes cancer.
Causes cancer.
That's what they wanted.
Right, that's what that it causes cancer. The results came back that it cures cancer, so the DEA in 1974 put that information behind their back. And people have been dying from cancer since then for that reason. Sounds like a crime to me. Sounds like a crime. And I'm just hearing the tip of the iceberg. I just learned that 5 minutes ago. 5 minutes ago when I was yelling sacred herb. Right? Is that how that? Sacred herb. Right. I'm sure most of you here know the story, but for those of you who don't, the police got a call anonymously that marijuana was being grown, not on his property, but where he lived.
That handler should bring it up.
The road to where he lives is about half a mile long, correct me if I'm wrong.
Right.
That was just a rhyme, you know, I do that once in a while every time. But on the road that's half a mile long, on both sides of the road, no trespassing, no trespassing. Are the signs this wide? Are they this wide? No, serious. I mean, about that wide, okay. How tall, how tall? Okay, so we got this this, we got 4 cops on 2 different days that missed 15 signs on both sides of the road in broad daylight. Came up and said, we're looking for a lost road. Am I right?
Lost dog.
A lost dog or a road?
Both.
Both. A lost dog road.
Came
They
twice.
were looking for a lost dog road. Okay? Because that's what it's going to be by the time it ends up, because it's going to be a dog that is being strangled by the Loch Ness Monster. Those stories get twisted in court, and these people never get, I'm talking about police, they never get charged with perjury. This is outright open lies. To get back to the story, they came back again, missed the second day, this time knocked on the door, they said they smelled it coming out, went and got a warrant and came back. So now, Joe, at this point, there was an offer, but there was a hearing, a MAP hearing. That's a hearing where you determine, did the police legally trespass the property? Did they seize the evidence legally? Unfortunately, that hearing never really came to a conclusion, and there's a guilty plea entered right now, but he's trying to take that back, all right? And that's about the point when I came on, all right? Because what they're doing in the courtroom is, he's doing his own case because he can't find a lawyer that will represent him correctly. What would correctly be? Well, he's claiming he's a shaman. There are a lot of theories.
Healing cancer?
Healing cancer. Right now, the only reason why the marijuana law is in place is because they're trying to enforce a certain morality. But you cannot make laws based on morality. That's a very personal thing. Very personal. There's a section in New York State law which is called Article 2, Section 2, Clause 2 of the Civil Rights Law. All right? Can anybody repeat that? I got $5.
Section 2,
Not wrong, not section. Article 2, Section 2, Clause 2
okay.
of the Civil Rights Law of the State of New York. Abigail, am I lying? Did you see it yourself? And what that law says is that no authority, under any pretense whatsoever, can be exercised over the people as such that they consent to. There is a farce and a pretense going on. The pretense is that the marijuana law is there for a legitimate reason. But enforcing morality is not a legitimate reason. Therefore, the New York State government is violating Article 2, Section 2, Clause 2 of the Civil Rights Law. And that's just the beginning. Just the beginning. Because the 9th Amendment says we have rights that are not even listed, that we don't even know we're going to have. That's what the 9th Amendment says to the Constitution. Now, certainly you would think that you would have the right to cure yourself. Matter of fact, the Hippocratic Oath, which I believe came out of Egypt, said, "Doctor, heal thyself." I think that's how it went. But it's a very personal thing to heal yourself. As a matter of fact, plants grown for healing are exempt from tax right now, like aloe vera. I actually eat raw aloe vera. It has long-chain polysaccharides. And every time I say that, people look at me funny, but it really does have long-chain polysaccharides that are good for the immune system. Long-chain sugars, that's how I should say it. No, but then sugar sounds unhealthy because it robs the calcium out of your bones and the minerals out of your body to process it. So I'm going to keep calling it long-term polysaccharides.
Long chain. Long chain.
Long chain. Long chain. Well, we want long-chain polysaccharides for long-term. Matter of fact, the herb might have something to do with stimulating the immune system. I'm not even sure. I just began this, but I'm spiritually converted. Yes, I am. But I want to get back
Tell them about
to
cameras.
the point about the Ninth Amendment. We're going to talk about cameras in the court in a second because that's very important to Joe's case. He really should have a camera in the court recording the dialogue that happens in there for several reasons. One, records disappear. Records disappear. Number two, records get altered. You'll come back and look at the record and say, wait a minute, I didn't say that. So then you do a motion to the judge to correct the transcript, and he goes no, and you go up and they go no, and you go up and they go no, and where are you? When if you had had a camera in the courtroom in the first place, you would have an independent record of what happened. And why shouldn't you have an independent record of what happened? Forget about the OJ trial. Forget about that. Forget about certain special trials. How about if a person feels that the government is ganging up on them, so they need a camera in order to protect themselves from the vile, malicious filth that goes on the bench? Why not? Who is it hurting? I'm charged with pounds and years, and I think the government's ganging up on me because they didn't answer my questions about jurisdiction. Just got finished reading Joe's paper talking about, I think it was Hagen versus somebody said, if jurisdiction is challenged, it must then be proven. But that judge, I don't know what his name is. What's that judge's name? Because I want to...
William.
Come back?
William.
Do you know his middle initial? Okay, Donald Williams, right, just didn't even deal with the jurisdictional challenges. Didn't even deal with it, just stepped over, which is what they always do when they can't squash it. Because when they can squash it, they give you case laws and histories from the Magna Carta and all that kind of stuff. When they got it. When they don't, they do like this. So you've got Article 2, Section 2, Clause 2. You've got the cameras in the court. You know, there are a lot of technical arguments about cameras in the court that I could get into. But again,
how about sitting in the well with the council? Oh yeah, it's just they pile so much shit on top of shit. I have personally done at least 15 cases stemming from trying to bring a camera in the court when they said don't bring it in. 15 criminal cases myself. Every time I've been appointed counsel, and counsel sits next to me at the table. There was one time when one counsel sat in the back, and I said, Judge, and the counsel told me he couldn't sit up there because the judge said he couldn't sit up there. Got in court and I said, Judge, I want him to sit up here, and the judge said okay, and he sat up there. So every time I've ever been in court, had a counsel, he sits right there at the table. I'm talking about 15 criminal cases. I have a mic. Every time. Yet, in this case, Joe is not allowed to have counsel sit right next to him so he can ask him procedural questions, substantive questions. What do you think? What don't you think? Is that a violation? How do I get this into evidence? How do I mark it as an exhibit? Objection. Yes. You know, there's a myriad of things that you need counsel sitting right there for you. Yet, yeah, but you could have talked about other stuff. That's a violation. That's another reason why his guilty plea should be taken back. Because if he had had his counsel right there, he'd have been able to ask questions of him rather than being just overwhelmed by the amount of injustices happening because his motions aren't being responded to. It's like he was black or something. But the fight is very corporate as well. You know how the pharmaceuticals are getting paid. I'm not even an expert. I went up and got the legislative history of it's L-1970, the Marijuana Act from 77. And it said there that marijuana does not pose a health or safety risk. Tell it to you in English and Spanish. Personally, I'm shocked to even see it. So he's going to do a half-hour show by himself. He's good at it. I'm going to talk about how Nat wouldn't come on here with me. This is sort of living theater, I guess. Is that what it is?
Looks like it. Yes, now.
Hi. You almost didn't.
This is Posr, co-host for farther down the rabbit hole. Sitting here in the studio by myself. At this moment, I'm going to talk about a few cases. Let's begin with the case of Joe Barton and Jay Deberman up in Ulster County. Jay and Joe were charged with having, I believe it was 47 pounds of marijuana, which they intended to use for medical purposes, for the purposes of concentrating the THC, and then to have people with cancer administer that THC to their bodies for the purpose of curing the cancer. If you haven't seen the video called Run From the Cure, I suggest you Google that or search engine that, Run From the Cure. Simpson, by Rick Simpson. And that will up-to-date you a little more technically on what he's been going through. He's actually out of the country at the moment. He cannot return to Canada, although other people in Canada are growing medical marijuana for the same purpose that he was. He has been stopped, and if he comes back into Canada, he'll be jailed. So the case of Joe and Jay, Joe Barton and Jay Deberman, father of some growing team. We did a camera in the court motion for that case because there was a plea entered in the case, and then Joe and Jay tried to take back the plea, and a motion for a camera in the court was made to, let me get his name straight. This is Judge Williams, Donald A. Williams, county judge in Ulster County. The motion that was filed had references to the 9th Amendment, had reference to the First Amendment, the Fourth, and the Sixth Amendments. And let me just tell you exactly what the court said in response to that motion. It said, by notice of motion dated July 29th, 2010, the defendants, Joseph Barton and Jay Deberman, and Paula Gloria, a member of the press, jointly moved this court for an order permitting audiovisual coverage of the proceedings in this matter. As a result of the combined effect of Civil Rights Law 52 and 22 NY.C.R.R. 29.1, this court has no authority to permit audio-video coverage of a trial or any other proceeding in the courthouse or courtroom. Now, before I get into explaining a little bit about Civil Rights Law 52 and 22 NY.C.R.R. 29.1, I just want to show you a picture. Actually, I want to show you two pictures. And since I'm in the studio by myself here, I can use both of these chairs as my desk. Now, let me see if you can zoom in on that picture. Okay, there you go. Right there, right there. That, don't move the camera. That is the picture of one of the defendants in the case in Staten Island where I believe it was an Ecuadorian immigrant was beaten to death. And this is the sentencing. Okay, now pull out a little bit, because pull out just okay, good. I just want you to see this because this is a picture in the courtroom. That picture was taken on 2010, August 6th. This appeared in the New York Times. August 6th of this year. Yet, Judge Williams claims that he doesn't have the authority to let a camera in the courtroom. Well, how can it be that there was a camera in the courtroom on the 6th of August, yet on the, what date is his order? Yet on August 3rd, Judge Williams claims that he has no authority to have a camera in the courtroom. Now, see if you can focus in on this picture. Come in a little bit more. And what you see there is the, I believe that was either this, well, you come in a little closer. You can read the headline. It says, Julia, hold up one second. Julia Quintuna, the mother of Jose Sucas Hanye, right? That's from that same courtroom, Yet Judge Williams claims that he has no authority because of Civil Rights Law 52, which is a statewide law, to have a camera in the courtroom. Unfortunately, I didn't have time to respond to his motion, and we may never get the answer to that question. But on the 25th, Joe and Jay Debman will appear in court, and we may still have time to have Judge Williams explain, Judge Donald H. Williams explain how it is that a court in Staten Island can have a camera, but a court in Ulster County cannot have a camera when Civil Rights Law 52 spans the entire state. And as you know, Staten Island is in the state of New York. Civil Rights Law 52. Civil Rights Law 52 basically says that no compelled testimony can be audio-visually covered. Compelled testimony. When people are in a court case, the only time there's compelled testimony is when there's a subpoena. And so if there's no subpoena, there's no compelled testimony. Logically, rationally, and even legally, what that means is everything that's said when there's no subpoena can be audio-visually covered. Judge Williams didn't make any reference at all to that point that was brought out in the motion to him. He simply said, and I just want to repeat what he simply said, the court has no authority to permit audio-visual coverage of a trial or any other proceeding in the courthouse or the courtroom. He also mentioned 22 NY.C.A.M.P 29.1. Now, that is a New York, and NY.C.A.M.P stands for New York Codes, Rules, Regulations. And what it basically says is that a litigant has a right to audio-visually record for litigation purposes. That's what 29.1 says. Now, what kind of litigation purposes might a person have that a litigant would want to bring a camera in a courtroom for? I've personally seen several instances of words on transcripts that did not occur in the courtroom, and I have also personally heard words occur in the courtroom that did not appear on the transcript.
basically what that means is transcripts can be altered, words erased, and words replaced. 29.1 is a code that would eliminate the ability of the court reporter, who is beholden to the judge and the court system for a job, right? Oh, we got a caller online? Okay, can you patch the caller through?
Try that.
Caller, are you there? Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Hi. You have a comment, question, statement?
Yeah, the case that you're speaking about?
Of Joe and Joe Barton, Jay Deberman? Hello?
Yes, he was what, an immigrant? What?
Was he an immigrant?
Yeah.
No. No, Joe Barton is not an immigrant.
You were showing a picture in the courtroom?
I was showing a picture of the mother of an immigrant that was beaten to death because he was an immigrant, yes. But pardon me?
He was beaten to death?
Yes, he was.
And what borough did that happen in?
I believe that was Staten Island.
It was that.
I'm sorry?
That is a shame.
Yeah, it's not correct.
No, but I do have a problem with immigration.
Well,
Call on another show.
yeah, this is not really a show about immigration. You know, although that's a worthy topic to speak about, but this is more about having cameras in the courtroom, because you see there's like a system-wide problem that's happening in the courtroom where injustice is basically being delivered by the judges that sit on the bench.
Okay.
And I was just showing that to show that they allowed a camera in the court in that sentencing proceeding, right, where, you know, really what happened in that is, all right, so you have a black man who is, you know, so-called African American there, and he's, you know, he's the perpetrator, the criminal in this case, and they allow a camera in the court so they can show you a picture of this black man who beat this immigrant to death. But when you want to have a camera in the court to show, for instance, the person who sodomized Abner Louima, right, which I had a camera in that court, but when you want to show that the police are protecting brutal, heinous crimes, then you can't have a camera in the courtroom.
I agree with that, but I think they did have cameras in the courtroom. You know, I remember seeing the pictures in the papers all over and on the news.
No, I believe there was not in the Abner Louima trial. No, that was this federal trial in Brooklyn. There was a camera in the court in the death of the guy who got shot at and shot 45 times, whose name escapes me at the moment. Mm-hmm. And that was upstate in Albany, and you know, there was a camera there, but you know, that was right, Amadou Diallo, pardon me. But that was taken, you know, out of the state, out of the city rather, and as you know, the officers prevailed. I believe it was like a lackluster performance. I didn't actually see the trial, but the case is, I mean, the fact is, you know, the officers came out on top. Now, a lot of people said that was fixed. So they had the camera up there in a trial that was kind of fixed, where the officers came out on top. Yet, in the Abner Louima trial, because I tried to get a camera in there, although that was a federal trial, actually I did get a camera in there, but they wouldn't allow the camera in there where the officer was, where you knew he wasn't, you know, he wasn't going to prevail, and he didn't. God, I believe it was 30 years.
They did have protection of the officers, or
I'm sorry?
do they not allow cameras for protection of the officers?
For protection of the officers?
Yeah.
That's not the rationale that's given. I mean, if it was a detective who was on, in some sort of undercover sting operation, of course, right, that's a safety issue. But even then, you can block the face, you can distort the voice, and just see the body and hear some kind of sound. So there are remedies for safety of undercover officers who are actually involved, in certain undercover operations. So, this is all to say that what has happened, like for instance, even in the Central Park case, the Central Park joggers case, okay, I put an application for a camera in the court when they were brought back down after having spent like 10, 11 years in prison and were going to be released. I put an application in, and that was in Manhattan, purely a state issue. I never got a hearing. I was never spoken to. As a matter of fact, I was deflected by the court secretary into believing that I was going to have a hearing, which I never had. In which case, of course, the prosecution looked bad, the officers looked bad, and even to some extent, the previous judges would have looked bad when those boys came back down. So there's a pattern that when the officers look good, there's going to be a camera in the court. When the officers look bad, or when black people look bad, there's going to be a camera in that courtroom. And the reason for that is when you can expose the racial profiling that's going on, which is another subject that's here now, then questions about faith and fairness of the system seriously come into play. Cole, are you still there?
Yes, I am.
Mm-hmm. So I guess you are in favor of cameras in the court? You think it's a good idea?
Of course it is.
Yeah, I think we need some kind of a legislative change to the Constitution, actually. Cole, I want to thank you for that call, and I'm just going to move on from here with some other issues. Thanks a lot.
Okay. I really do about the integration. I really think that country and state should take action. We have 20% unemployment, and I think we can make up some ground if we get rid of some people that belong here, being white, black, yellow, orange. 20% unemployment. We can get rid of, maybe we can take up ground, maybe 10%, if we start getting tight here on the streets of New York and the United States of America.
A worthy subject. Thanks for the call.
Thank you.
The issue of Joe and Jay Deberman goes on, and the reason why I really feel that Judge Williams refuses to have a camera in that Ulster County courtroom is because the issue of medical marijuana would how much would the pharmaceutical companies lose? How much would hospitals doing all these radiation treatments lose? How much would even some physicians lose if you could cure cancer simply by ingesting concentrated THC? Now, the argument of Joe, Barton, and Depperman, who are father and son with last names, but the argument is that man has an inalienable right to pick and cultivate plants of the field for medicinal health. Hundreds of thousands of years, people have just walked around picking up plants that they knew would be good for them when they were ill. And then an inalienable right. See, that's what one clear-cut definition of an inalienable right is when people have done something for hundreds of thousands of years in order to survive. also. People have done things for hundreds of thousands of years for recreation. As long as they're not hurting anyone, what is the problem? Yet in the 20s, a law was made, a prohibition against marijuana was made, and at that time was mostly the Mexicans and people of African ancestry who were getting into the herb. So I think the law was just made just for them. But anyway, the law was made somewhere in the 20s, 30s, prohibiting marijuana, smoking, on the premise that it was injurious to the health. There was a federal agency that did a study, and the study showed that it was not injurious to the health. Therefore, when you combine the concept of an inalienable right to cultivate and pick plants of the field for survival, for recreation, for spiritual enlightenment, hundreds of thousands of years people have done this. And when you combine that with the false premise of the marijuana prohibition, you really start to cause some shockwaves. You look at the number of states in the Union that are passing medical marijuana laws. In New York State, there's a law called Civil Rights Law, Article 2, Section 2. And that law states that no authority under any pretenses whatsoever will be exercised over the people, but that such as is passed by the Assembly and the Senate or something like that. But no pretense, under no pretense whatsoever, can authority be exercised over the people of the state of New York. The prohibition against marijuana was premised on the concept that it injured health. False premise. That is a false pretense. Therefore, the law against marijuana, growing it, smoking it, that law violates Article 2, Section 2 of the Civil Rights Law. You have a New York State civil law right to do anything, to do something if the law against it is based on a false pretense. And that's what we have here in the case of Joe Barton and Jay Deverman up in Ulster County. And if there were a camera in the court and you could hear Joe Barton and Jay Deverman talk about this false premise, talk about Civil Rights Law, Article 2, Section 2, that would put a big dent in the validity of the law against marijuana, which is being used to cure cancer. See Run from the Cure by Rick Simpson. And so that's why I think that Judge Smith doesn't want a camera up in that courtroom. And as I said before, when it's good for the government, then you see a camera. And when it's good for the people, you don't see a camera.
And here's a picture of a big pharmaceutical that N.Y.C.A.M.P put up.
Yeah, here we have GlaxoSmithKline. You remember they were involved in doing experimentation on orphan black kids up in the Bronx, I think Upper Manhattan. Two experimentation.
2 minutes.
2 minutes. Boy, time goes by like there's just not enough time in the day. Well, we got 2 minutes, so if there's a caller out there who wants to weigh in, you've probably got about 1 minute and 30 seconds.
I just put it up because of equal protection. The courts are supposed to give us equal protections as sovereign citizens, so no matter how powerful the pharmaceuticals are, if we really made ourselves savvy of our rights.
Are you on the air when you're saying that?
Yes, people can hear you.
People can hear you. That's another aspect. Lawlessness is happening in the courtrooms, and a camera in the court would just be such a potent and peaceful weapon against the injustice that is happening in the courts. I mean, I've been following the courts, following the judges since 1993. As a matter of fact, I filed the first racial profiling suit in New York City. And I wonder if Judge Patterson is going to allow me to have a camera in the court on that case. I'm certainly going to file. All right, so until next time, farther down the rabbit hole is Posr, co-hosting with, not here personally, but Paula Gloria.
So to some degree, this explains the behavior of the legal and medical systems in regards to this issue. But it does not exonerate their behavior, especially when so many people in these professions had to know that what they were doing was against the public trust and the public's best interest. Just look at medicine. Who's getting healed these days? Doctors fill the public full of liver-toxic chemicals and poisons. They give us cancer-causing treatments such as chemo and radiation to treat cancer. Where do they get the nerve to call what they are practicing medicine? It seems that the Hippocratic oath they swear that states, "First do no harm, and I shall not administer poisons," means nothing to doctors of today. For if it did, doctors would be providing harmless natural healing substances like hemp medicines. Years ago in North America, doctors who were doing abortions became a target of the right to life groups, and some doctors were even shot due to the role they were playing. I find it strange that people will take the law into their own hands over an unborn infant, yet seem to be satisfied to sit and watch a doctor poison a loved one with chemo until it kills them and do nothing. It seems that for many, the right to life only extends to those still in the womb. I do not advocate violence against the system, but if they refuse to acknowledge the truth when it is put before them, where else is there to turn? For you cannot negotiate with corruption that is this deeply ingrained. If the system is going to try to continue on with their irrational behavior, maybe it's time for us to become a little irrational and put a stop to it. Those in control presently know when the public learns the truth, it's over for them. All will be exposed, and those who are committing this travesty against mankind will have no place to hide. But still, I do not advocate violence against such people, for we, the public, must also shoulder some of the blame for what has happened in the past. For decades now, we have been letting the system tell us that black is white, yet